All right, Part H, claims of anti-Semitism, 31. Why focus so much on Israel? Why not focus on others? Claims of Western anti-Semitism. Because Israel is especially bad. More children have been murdered in Gaza by Israel than in any other war. Israel receives U.S. assistance in various ways, so it is the responsibility of the American government and people. What China or Russia do is frankly none of my business. And as mentioned above, even if we do consider other wars, Israel is still especially bad and deserves special condemnation. If Israelis disarmed, they'd be massacred. Claims of Islamic anti-Semitism. Do you mean like the Israelis did to the Palestinians in 1982 at the Sabra and Shatila massacre after the Palestinians disarmed? Like that? Every accusation is a confession with Israel. B. Israelis will be fine under an Islamic Palestine. You're thinking of Christian savagery. Christians did the Holocaust, not Muslims. It was Christians who kicked the Jews out of Spain after the Jews had lived there for centuries under Andalusian Islamic Spain. And it was the Christians who kicked the Jews out of the Holy Land. Jews didn't come back to the Holy Land until Umar bin al-Khattab, the second caliph of Islam, took Jerusalem and invited the Jews to come back to Jerusalem. Even more recent events show this, like how everything they claimed of October 7th turned out to be false. There was no 40 beheaded babies, no babies in ovens. Most of the dead were actually military, not civilian. October 7th was not some anti-Semitic massacre to kill Jews. It was a successful military operation to get prisoners to exchange for the ones that Israel took first. And Israel never clarified how they killed a bunch of Israelis on October 7th and tried to blame it on the Palestinians. Not even on accident, but on purpose. It's called Hannibal Directive, and it's the official Israeli state policy to kill Israelis in order to deny the enemy a bargaining chip. This isn't even the first time they've done this. The Lavon affair in Egypt, the 50-51 Baghdad bombings, 1950, and probably more we don't even know about. The Israelis do some terrorist act and then blame it on Arabs or Muslims, and many people, unfortunately, believe them. So no, Jews won't be in danger under Islam. That's Christian savagery you're thinking of. The historical record shows Islam and Palestine have been better to the Jews than the savage Christian West, who pushed them into gas chambers and ovens. Number 33. Hostages. Hostages taken unprovoked or mistreated. Israel took hostages first. Israel detains Palestinians without charge or reason given. That's hostages. Israel took hostages first, and on October 7th, Palestinians decided to bring their hostages home by getting some hostages to exchange. And on mistreatment of hostages, do you mean like the hostages tortured by Israel? Again, every accusation is a confession with Israel. If anyone wants to talk hostages, we need to talk about the hostages Israel took first. 34. Israel is trying to get hostages. Let's see. Are you sure about that? Do you even know about Hannibal Directive? Hannibal Directive is the official Israeli state policy to kill Israelis instead of letting them become hostages, and even killing them after they have become hostages in order to deny the enemy a bargaining chip. They have done it before October 7th, on October 7th, and afterwards because these 2,000-pound bombs are not how you get someone out alive from a hostage situation. That's how you kill everyone from captor to captive alike. So, are you sure they're trying to get hostages? They have an official policy to kill hostages, and they have the incentive to do so, to deny the enemy a bargaining chip. Actually, a double incentive, because then they can blame those deaths on the Palestinians, even though it was Israel who killed them. They have done it before, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Israel may claim they are getting hostages, but actions speak louder than words. And the actions of their 2,000-pound bombs speak much louder than the words of their press conference lies. Israel is not trying to get hostages. That's just what Israel wants you to believe. It's been how many months and Israel hasn't got any hostages? In fact, they shot and killed 3 on accident, allegedly on accident. But it was probably just deliberate Hannibal Directive, if you ask me. The other day I saw a video of an Israeli soldier getting captured. So the hostages in captivity are increasing, not decreasing. So no, Israel is not trying to get hostages. Israel is trying to kill hostages. Oh man, this is claims on the morality of Israel. I don't know if I have time for this one. It's a lot. 35. Israel doesn't target civilians deliberately. Israel has an AI targeting system called Where's Daddy that targets militants off the battlefield when they are at home and with their families. Not on the battlefield, unarmed and with family. This is criminal. This is the deliberate targeting of civilians. Imagine the roles were reversed. Would it be acceptable to bomb an Israeli house and kill the whole family because the son or dad was in the army? No. So it's not justified when Israel does it. That's how Israel deliberately targets civilians from the air. And on the ground, their foot soldiers post self-incriminating videos of themselves doing war crimes and atrocities. Just go online and do a search of Israel IDF war crimes social media. See what comes up. Israel hasn't done any atrocities. Just to name a few: Deir Yassin, 1948, Khan Yunis, 1956, Rafah, 1956, or Sabra and Shatila, 1982. This last one is especially bad. It was worse than October 7th, both in quantity and quality. Israel has done worse than October 7th. Sabra and Shatila had anywhere from 2x to 3x the death toll of October 7th. And many of those horror stories that turned out to be false about October 7th were actually real in Sabra and Shatila, like killing and cutting open pregnant women. Israel trained, armed, send-in, provided illumination flares and area security for the savage Christian forces who committed this massacre. So this worse than October 7th massacre was done by the Christians and the Israelis, both armed by the US. And they try to tell you the Palestinians are the bad guys. But tell me more about how moral Israel is. 37, a few bad apples. The idea here is that it's just a few bad apples in the Israeli military and that it's not systematic. While we know for a fact that their criminal and atrocious behavior is in fact systematic, the Israelis have an AI targeting software called Where's Daddy that targets militants while they are off the battlefield. Not in combat, not while they are a threat to soldiers or anyone else, off the battlefield at home at night with their families. This is when their system would target them. This is criminal. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine an Israeli house were bombed and the whole family killed, and it was justified on the grounds that the dad is in the military. Would it be accepted? No. So don't accept it from Israel. All these bombings Israel does are crimes. Every bombing by Israel is an act of terror against civilians. And the fact there may have been a militant among them does not justify Israel. And that's without even getting into what the foot soldiers do on the ground and all the self-incriminating social media videos they do. So yes, it is very widespread and systematic. 38. Israel investigates itself. Israel investigates itself. This is absurd on its face, and anyone who deploys this on you is insulting your intelligence. We shouldn't even have to discuss why this is absurd, but let's do so anyways. Let's say there was a murder. Would we ask the murder suspect to investigate themselves? No murder here. Says who? The person accused of murder. Okay, fine. This is ridiculous. Israel can't investigate itself. And nor can anyone who provides them with guns like the US. A person is cleared of murder. Says who? The person who gave them the gun and drove the car. Equally absurd. 39. Israel is not doing genocide. First, what is genocide? Genocide does not mean extermination or annihilation. For example, if every Mexican in Colorado were to be killed, that's genocide, even if there's still a ton that remain in all the other states. B, genocide doesn't have to be killing. Forced sterilization and preventing births would achieve the same result as death after a few months, after a few generations. So you can have a zero-death genocide. Israel has done this, by the way. Israel sterilized Ethiopian Jews, so this isn't even Israel's first or only genocide. C, you can even have a genocide with no death and no sterilization. Forced assimilation can be genocide. For example, imagine we took all Jewish children and forced them to be raised by non-Jewish families. In a few generations, no more Jews. another form of zero death genocide. Israel may have done this too against Yemeni children. Genocide doesn't mean extermination or death toll or gas chambers. Genocide means making it so a group doesn't exist somewhere, by whatever means. Israel is making it so Palestinians don't exist in Gaza and in the West Bank. One of the clearest examples is when Israelis and their defenders say there is no such thing as Palestine or Palestinians. They say it's just Arabs. Well, that's the assimilation genocide. And Israelis have called for the other forms of genocide too, like Benjamin Netanyahu invoking Amalek, which is a call for extermination. Israel wants Palestinians to just become Arabs, and for there to be no more Palestine or Palestinians. Greatest hits. This is a good one. The world's most moral army, number 40. If Israel really had the, quote, world's most moral army, we would hear things like this coming from their commanders and leaders. Yeah, it's been a real hard battle fighting in such densely populated terrain. We can't even use our bombs or our tanks. The bombs destroy too much and the tanks don't fit down the narrow streets. They're gathering dust back in Israel. It's just our robot drones in the tunnels and us with our bullets up above. Our soldiers are calling it the Battle of the Bullets. All bullets, no bombs. We have the bombs and tanks for armies. This is a guerrilla battle. So that's why we aren't using them. They're gathering dust. Most we use is a shoulder-fired rocket, and even that I personally think is too much sometimes. But that's not what we hear from them. Instead, this is what we hear from them. Those are animals. They have no right to exist. I am not debating the way it will happen, but they need to be exterminated. Yoav Kitch, Minister of Education. I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly. Yoav Gallant, Minister of Defense. Bring down buildings, bomb without distinction. Stop with this impotence. You have ability. Revital Gottlieb, member of the Israeli Knesset. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true. Isaac Herzog, President of Israel. You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. Amalek is a biblical reference calling for the killing of all men, women, and children. It's a call to extermination. He has made this genocidal reference numerous times. We have no intent to stop. They're taking major blows. We just started. I emphasize again, we have only just started. Yaron Finkelman, Major General in the Israeli military. I became a Zionist because I wanted us to have our own state so that we could commit our own follies, commit our own atrocities, engage in our own corruption. Shaya Leibovitz, Israeli university professor. And you can see their soldiers carrying out these genocidal instructions. Just go online and search Israeli soldiers' war crimes, social media. There's many examples of them incriminating themselves.